All right, welcome to Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan, here with my satyr and protector, a god in my eyes. Keith, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I love a good Friday pod. Makes me happy.
The fact that you called me a satyr, and I have a tidbit later about that, I'm pretty happy about. So I will definitely get into that. And
I hope we have the same tidbit in.
we probably do.
Let me give you a hint.
Yeah.
It's not tid and it's not bit.
We're on the same page.
Well, here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking down some bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing Rick Riordan's The Lightning Thief, the first of Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. If you'd like to recommend a book to us or reach out to us about any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify, so please download and subscribe. Whew. Let's get into Percy Jackson. How did you decide to recommend this book to us?
So on Reddit, I follow a lot of the popular book channels on that.
As a producer of this podcast, that's a good thing to do, yeah.
And you know that the dragon I've always been chasing is the next Harry Potter, is finding that. I'm constantly on the look for that, and I can never catch it. But
I thought it was heroin, but I'm glad you're chasing a different dragon.
Well, yeah, you can be both, no? But yeah, I kept on seeing this recommended as like, what's something that's similar to Harry Potter? And everyone would be like, Percy Jackson, and vice versa. I don't know if that would be how I would describe this book necessarily, other than him like kind of having magic. Otherwise, I describe this book though as like a kid's version of American Gods. It's basically traveling across the U.S., interacting with different, instead of just American gods, Greek gods along the way. It was a similar naivety. Is that the word?
Naivete.
Naivety is the scene where Jesus is born. What's that?
Nativity.
Yeah, same difference. But anyways, that's kind of what I felt like it was like.
And that's the pod. Thanks for checking in, guys. I'll talk to you next time. Well, I guess before we get ahead of ourselves, we'll get into a summary. I really have no idea what Percy Jackson is, because he said at the beginning, if you're reading this book and you think you might be one, by meaning a half-blood, my advice is close the book right now. So that's what I did. I didn't read the book. And a butterfly landed on me one time, so I'm definitely part god. I'm presumably Artemis, god of nature. So yeah, I didn't even read the book. Keith, you have to tell me what the summary is. I have no idea. But Percy is a half-blood, similar to Harry Potter. So there you go. There's another similarity. And he goes on a quest to return a lightning bolt. Story ended. All right, well, we're going to get into some stock up, stock down, some love-hate, listener mail. We're going to maybe recast the movie. But before we get into that, we like to do a little libation so that everyone can listen along and enjoy an adult beverage, perhaps, as we do this, especially it's Friday, like I said. I mean, it might not be Friday when you're listening, but hey, it's Friday somewhere. I think that's the phrase, right?
Yeah, that works.
So you can go with some red wine in honor of Mr. D, a.k.a. Dionysus. Seems like that's, low-hanging fruit, like a grape. Low-hanging, got it? Or low-hanging like a satyr, got it? It's kid's book, I don't want to be drinking a kid's book. That just sounds rude, so I'm going to drink a tea. Iced tea. Twisted tea.
I forget who I was talking to, but they were like, man, I really wish they made Twisted Tea's non-alcoholic version. And I was like, that's just tea.
They do. It's called iced tea. What was your favorite scene from this book? Quickly, though, before we get into this. This is not only a young adult book, but it's like a middle grade book, I guess is what they would call it. So even though we've read a lot of young adult books on this podcast, it's closer to like Holes than anything else we've read. And Holes was our first episode. I don't even know if it's still on Spotify. It's got really shitty audio, but maybe it is. And we're probably going to shit on this book a little bit, but that's because we're adults and we're reading a children's book, and I have a tough time putting myself back into my 11-year-old self. So I think that that's just kind of like a disclaimer, because the things that we're probably going to talk about are stuff that an 11-year-old might not notice. So if you're listening to this for some reason and your kid wants to read Percy Jackson, don't be like, well, these idiots hated it, so don't read it, because they would probably love it. But there we go.
I would say this is similar to Holes and Hatchet. And you didn't really like Holes, and I didn't really like Hatchet, but it was probably because I liked Holes because I read it when I was young, and you really liked Hatchet because you read it when I was young.
Yeah.
So I bet people that like Percy Jackson when they're younger still appreciate it now.
Exactly. This is our first time reading it for both of us. If we had both read this when we were kids, I'm sure we would have a different affinity towards it than we do now. All right, favorite scene, what do you got?
I didn't really have one that really stood out, but I just think anytime Ares was in any scene, he kind of stole the show. I really appreciated that he immediately made everyone around him like more aggressive and angry and ready to fight. This dude's kind of brings the party with him. He rode around on a motorcycle, he had like flaming eyes. Percy Jackson, who's kind of always doesn't know what's going on. He's kind of reacting to everything rather than being the aggressor. Starts talking shit to him, and he's like, "You won't fight me, you little bitch." I'm like, "Oh, all right, Percy. Like, I kind of like you around this Ares guy."
I'm with you there. It's and he's in a diner scene. If it's a diner, something good's gonna happen. I mean, you're talking Goodfellas, the movie The Diner, great stuff. Fargo.
American Gods was a very diner heavy too, so
yeah,
both very similar, like I said.
I wouldn't be surprised if Riordan was a big GAIMAN fan. For my favorite scene, like maybe the Oracle scene. I love a good Oracle scene. 300, The Matrix, it always gets me. I feel like more movies should have Oracle scenes. Just throw one in there. But they always have the "you will be betrayed by a friend," and like the first thing I'm thinking is like, no, not Grover. Not Grover. Can't be Grover. So I just like a good Oracle scene. Or potentially when they go to the underworld, that just whole different places people can go, and the people that were waiting to be judged, and kind of like Dante's like different levels of hell kind of thing. And they also reference Elysium, which is from one of my favorite movies, Gladiator. Sounds actually great, so I'm down for going to Elysium. Stock up, stock down. Let's jump into it. The stock market, the real stock market, is all over the place, but here we're dealing with commodities, derivatives, all sorts of high-level stocks that people don't even know are available to trade. What are you buying? What are you buying this time around?
Stock up magical sword / stabbing people.
I don't know if is that two stocks or is that one?
I wanted to say stabbing people, and I was like, well, I kind of need to give a caveat here. We have a ton of listeners. I don't want people going out there stabbing people, unless you have a magical sword. So Percy Jackson gets a magical pen, which like turns into a sword whenever he pulls it out and uses it, which kind of gives new meaning to the phrase, "the pen is mightier than the sword."
Oh.
But yeah, you like that? I only know that because of celebrity.
The penis mightier?
Yeah.
Celebrity Jeopardy.
Celebrity Jeopardy with penis is mightier. Yeah. But anyways, the sword only kills gods and half-bloods. In fact, he tests this out against some like young rich thugs, I guess they were, that try to intimidate him, and he was just out there ready to snatch lives, just stabbing kids for no. They were like circling around him, and he just pulls the sword out and starts stabbing people. And he's like, "Oh, I guess it doesn't work." It's like, wait, you were about to murder like 4 or 5 kids over this? But that's neither here nor there.
I'm a big fan of the phrase "snatch lives."
Oh yeah, he was ready, kid. He was ready just to start snatching. But here's my question: why was he not doing this to everyone? Someone looks at him funny, sword comes out, stab him. Someone is on the bus. He doesn't know if they're a god or not. Stab him. The Medusa, when she's like, yeah, come eat my food, stab her. Like, why was he not doing that every time?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get into this later, but Percy wasn't the brightest of all kids.
Yeah, that's true. I also always think that Star Wars should have incorporated this, where once you create a lightsaber, it's yours, and it only responds to your hand, and it can go through your skin. It doesn't affect you in any way. Because it also would have made Darth Maul way cooler with the double lightsabers, where he could have like
stabbed through himself to stab someone else.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
That'd be cool, right?
That'd be wild. It'd be like kind of hard to follow and explain in video form, but no, I get it.
No, just be like, oh, this is my lightsaber. It can't hurt me.
I do think the idea of like, they already have pistols, like weapons that read your finger grip. And like will only activate if you're using it. So like, why wouldn't they have that with a lightsaber? Seems pretty standard, really.
Pretty standard, really.
There you go. My first stock up is peanut butter and ketchup sandwiches. So this was early on.
What? Pardon?
Well, the stock I'm pretty sure is like non-existent. Like might be trading for micro pennies. So I think I'm gonna buy it, considering. Well, Nancy Boba Fett tosses one at Grover's head, and I can't say I've ever partaken in a peanut butter and ketchup sandwich, but as long as it's Heinz on there, I'd be down to try it. I've had some weird sandwich concoctions in my youth, which is, the cupboard's dry, but you got some bread, so what are you going to put on it? I was wondering if you had tried any. I mean, you're famous for creating a sandwich at the place we used to work together. The Everyman, is that what it was called?
Yeah, I forgot.
I think it was called the Everyman. It was the turkey and cheese with bacon.
Nah, I put honey mustard on there.
Yeah, honey mustard. So it was a turkey and cheese with honey mustard. But have you tried any like weird kitchen concoctions in the sandwich variety?
A staple for me used to be I'd come home and get a piece of bread and warm up a hot dog and put ketchup on it. So that's kind of a sandwich, right?
Yeah, I will argue.
It wasn't a hot dog bun.
Yeah, I will argue that hot dog buns are overrated, and just like a piece of white bread is delicious with a hot dog.
Okay, we're on the same page then.
I remember when I first did the Costco thing, like Costco first became like a fad for my family, at least when I was like 12 or 13. And they had microwavable bacon, which technically all bacon's microwavable, but it was like par cooked, so it only took like a minute. And so we had that in the freezers. I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do this. And we also had the Costco giant size fluff that would just never go out. I would make a good bacon and fluff sandwich, and it was delicious. I would push everyone out there who has fluff in the cupboard and some bacon to really try it. It's something special.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That's the perfect element of sweet and salty.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds perfect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can also dip bacon in Hershey's chocolate syrup. That's another one I did, but I was a sick child.
I mean, you could do literally bacon with everything. You put it in vegetables, honestly. So
you put it in vegetables?
Yeah, I mean, you like sprinkle bacon pieces on anything that's vegetable. It's like, oh yeah, I guess that's a thing.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, they do have like shakeable bacon bits, which is weird.
Yeah.
But, what else do you have for stock up?
Vegas stock up.
Oh,
it seemed like this book was
high.
really Vegas for kids.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Let me classify it. But the Lotus Casino. Can we talk about the Lotus Casino and how amazing that sounded?
We sure can.
I guess you waste your life away living in there, but is wasting your life away when you have unlimited free money? It sounded like things were constantly getting updated, the best of like everything. You had like the most fun games, and it's a time machine. You don't age. So like, let's say we're, in a couple bad years, you're like, all right, let me just go to the Lotus Casino, waste a couple years in here, come back when the future's a little bit better, have the best time of my life for like 3 or 4 years. Bada boom, bada bang. I don't know. It made sense to me. I mean, the one thing about this book, definitely getting kids addicted to gambling early, because it was talking about like, yeah, this is awesome. Vegas is amazing. You should go there.
Yeah. I'm in for the Lotus Casino as well. It sounded super great. Like he was like, oh, there's some kid who's there from the 70s. It was like, so that kid's been bungee jumping, eating ice cream, like playing video games for 30, 40 years. And he's going to get out of here at some point and still be a young kid. And now he has computers. And when he went in there, he didn't have computers. Like, yeah, I'm all for it. It sounded amazing. I don't know. I mean, Percy's the real dink for pulling everyone out of there.
Yeah, it was pretty selfish.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Although I think Vegas, it's not like, the movie Casino, where it really wasn't kid friendly. Now it's pretty kid friendly. So you're buying a blue chip stock here. There's some blue chip stock you're buying. My next stock up is Capture the Flag. Really, just is there a better game? But I feel like people don't play Capture the Flag anymore. It's like not a thing, but maybe I'm just not a child anymore and I can't play Capture the Flag. But there are like adult softball leagues. There are adult volleyball leagues. Like, why isn't there an adult Capture the Flag league? Because like Stratego, one of my favorite board games, it's just Capture the Flag. That's all it is. But, you don't have to move. But real Capture the Flag is phenomenal. I mean, even if you go paintballing, the whole point of paintballing is usually like Capture the Flag. I'm serious. Is there a better gym/outdoor game to play?
The nerves you felt. Remember when in gym class when you were like doing Capture the Flag? The nerves you felt for that, I can still feel them right now.
Yeah,
like, it's just that was the most exhilarating thing you can do as a kid. I feel
the only thing that's close I can think is when you're playing dodgeball and you're like the last person on your team.
Yeah,
and you're just left and right, dip, dive, dutch, duck, dodge, and duck.
If you score that flag, I mean.
Oh my
when you're a youngin', you're basically getting H-days after that class real quick, Too much?
Well, you're definitely the first of the bubbler. Like, you get to call first dibs at the bubbler because you captured the flag.
Water fountain for those outside of New England.
New England, yeah. The bubbler. Although, the one concern with this book was, shouldn't Ares have like dominated Capture the Flag? It's basically a war game.
I mean, what the book should have just turned into was just Capture the Flag the whole time. Then that would have been great. But yeah, you're right. They should have definitely won that.
Well, if it was Capture the Flag the whole time, it'd pretty much be like Hunger Games. And also, I watched the movie for this, and I don't know if you have, but I watched the movie just for, research. And it was similar to the book in that they had the capture the flag stuff, but it was like war. And I think that's what the book was too. Like they had live swords and stuff like that, and you can kill people with these swords. So I didn't really understand how more children were just like dying during capture the flag, which I am not for. I want a very casual capture the flag. I don't want life and death on the line. But this seemed like some serious, dangerous capture the flag. Like if Percy didn't hit that water, he would have been screwed. Like they would have just like stabbed him to death.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like they were like, it was like, okay, get your shield, get your armor. And it's like, you know, Greek armor. So it's shin guards and a chest plate pretty much. So you could very like imagine the parents being like, oh, I'm sending my kid to camp. Like 2 weeks later, a letter comes home. Like, no, your kid's dead. He was playing capture the flag and he went after it too hard. I think
they just give him that like juice there that tastes like cookies.
The blue juice?
Yeah, whatever that was. That stuff sounded amazing.
Okay, yeah. Let's get into stock down. What are you selling this time around?
Stock down my lifestyle choices, or my lifestyle just in general. So the worst person in the book is his stepdad, Gabe. And let me just list off what Gabe likes to do. Loves sports, loves gambling, loves drinking. He's balding, he's overweight. Loves a good layered dip. That's just me. That's it just describes what I am. And then at the end, they kind of infer that because he does all those things, he like starts beating his wife. And I was like, Jesus Christ! So
you're worried about your future?
Fucked up. Yeah. But also, though, would have killed Percy to give Gabe an apology for ruining his pride and joy car. Come on, right?
Yeah, no big deal, Percy. Just come on.
He just ruined his car, and he gets back, and he's like, Gabe's being mean to me. Brother, you just ruined his car. But yeah, my lifestyle choices stock down apparently because of this book.
Okay, I can dig it. My first stock down is law enforcement / journalistic integrity. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? I mean, Percy's all over the news for like, young boy wanted for bus explosion. Young boy does crazy stuff in New York City.
He's a minor too, isn't he? Why are they publicizing his name?
Fucking Barbara Walters is in on it. She's going to lose her Peabody Award. Like, everyone is just slandering Percy Jackson's name all over the place. This is like 12, 13-year-old kid. You just assume that this kid is just all of a sudden became a terrorist. He's just deciding to blow up buses. You don't figure that there's probably something else going on. It made very little sense to me that none of the cops were like, oh, I don't know, like maybe this isn't just as what it seems, that a 13-year-old's blowing up buses. Plus, don't they have forensic teams that are looking? They're like, oh, you know, there was no wires, there was no bomb device. Where's the FBI in this? They're not doing anything. And on top of that, how can you not catch this kid? They're legitimately not doing anything to hide. It's not like, okay, let's, you know, change our appearance or this, that, or the other thing. It's 3 kids going around the United States alone that are 13. It probably wouldn't, and every time they'd be like, oh, you know, there's a sign for us, or someone on the news is saying something, and they're like in a diner just like having eggs. Like, my eggs are a little overdone. What about yours? And no one there is like, no, that guy on the TV is that kid that's sitting right there. No one cares. I guess the law enforcement, no one cares. So I'm selling my law enforcement stock.
Yeah, I'm bored with that.
What else do you have for stock down?
Being curious, stock down. It seems like the whole book, Percy's kind of asking reasonable questions about like what's going on, and people were just like, yeah, Percy, shut the fuck up. Like, you should know this stuff. It's like, what? Like, he gets right to the camp, his mom dies, Mr. D is being a complete dickhead to him. Like, what? Why is this guy being so mean to him? And Percy's asking questions, and they're like, you should know this stuff, you should know this stuff. And you'd think there'd be some sort of empathy, considering that all of these kids at the camp have gone through the same thing.
Yeah.
So when he gets there, they should be like, I was once this kid, you know, like, and you kind of give him a little bit of a heads up. But we get none of that. He just immediately told like how dumb he is the whole book. It's like, all right, I feel kind of bad that this guy's being even curious about this stuff because he's just getting shit on it for it.
Yeah, so, maybe stock up for like down. Luke, because Luke was the only one that was nice to him, even though like he kind of screwed him over, obviously, at the end. But like he's the only person that was, oh, you can play with our team and, you know, no sweat. Oh, here's how this works. Here's how, you know, this whole camp thing works. Everyone else is in the same boat as you. This isn't like was like a horrible orphanage. It's like Oliver Twist all over again.
Yeah.
My next stuck down was being a loving, caring mother and sacrificing your happiness for your child. People, it's not worth it. It is not worth it, because when Percy's mom died, he did not give a fuck. She's everything he has. Not only when she immediately dies, he's like, oh my God, my mom, like she's dead. Then he's like, oh, this camp's pretty cool. Like, what's going on here?
I was going to say, well, I got to win this capture the flag game.
Yeah, like, oh, I guess capture the flag is like way more important than my mom. And then people are like, hey, Percy, how you feeling? He's like, cool, I just like got these new shoes. Like, everything's great. I mean, even when he's in the underworld, well, at first he's like, oh, I'll just grab her like out of the underworld, no problem. Like, this is not a big deal. Like, I'll just get her. But what is this? Is this What Dreams May Come, starring Robin Williams? It's not that easy. And then when they get down there, Grover, because they only had 3 ways to get out and there's 4 of them, Grover's like, I'm cool. I'll take her place. No sweat, brother. Like, we're fine here. And like, it's not going to be as bad for me because I'm a satyr, whatever the case is. Grover's literally going to sacrifice himself. Way to take one for the team, bud. And then Percy's like, nah, you know what? I'm going to leave my mom here because that makes way more sense. And I'm way more aligned with you, Grover, because like we just met and things are cool between us. I mean, at least within the movie, they did change that and Grover did stay and he took his mom. It didn't really matter in the movie whatsoever. Like they didn't, nothing happened. But I just didn't understand how he was obviously upset that his mom died, but it wasn't like talked about after that. It was just like not discussed. It was like, nah, whatever. Like,
Harry Potter spent 7 books basically being like, my parents. He barely even knew his parents, right?
Yeah. I'd like a happy medium in between the two. At one point, the girl in the series or whatever, I forget her name. Annabeth. She's just like, hey, Percy, how's it going? He's like, well, I mean, I'm glad we're on this quest together, but like, I'm pretty upset my mom's dead. Just something along those lines would have been fine for me.
Yeah, I think the whole thing was like, she's not really dead yet.
He was pretty certain she was dead for a while. And instead he was like, what bunk am I in? Oh. Do you have any other stuck down?
Last one, kissing and telling, stuck down. There's something honorable about kind of keeping things private, not bragging too much, but come on. If you're hooking up with a god, are we not telling everyone about this? Like, you gotta be.
What are we talking about here?
Annabeth's dad, right? Hooks up with Athena, who's the goddess of beauty.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't really want anything to do with her. I don't want to really talk about her. You hooked up with a god. That'd be like hooking up with a Victoria's Secret model and being like, not a big deal, like whatever, but even more prestigious than that. And then Percy's mom doesn't talk at all about hooking up with, what's his dad's name? Poseidon?
Poseidon, yeah.
Wouldn't you be proud of that? Wouldn't you be bragging to everyone about that?
Yeah, I'd be like, I banged a god, like a literal god.
Pretty cool to have that on your little black book.
Yeah, she's out to dinner, grabbing a cheap red wine with a friend. They're like, she's like, why are you with Gabe? It's like, well, I banged this god and nothing else came to it. So it was like, it doesn't matter who I bang after that because it's not going to match this god I banged. Like, he literally is a god. I'd be dropping dimes.
I bring it up every conversation I could possibly bring up. Oh, that kind of actually reminds me of that time. That has nothing to do with it, It'd just be coming up right away.
Yeah, I shagged a god. My next stock down and last is science.
After we just read a book all about science, yeah. I'm surprised.
So,
okay.
Mr. D, a.k.a. Dionysus, makes an interesting point. He pretty much says, what will what you think is science be viewed as in 2,000 years? Some dumb Neanderthal shit, so you might as well just not do science. That seemed pretty blatant to me. It's like all this stuff we think is groundbreaking, and it's like, oh, wow, we have nanotechnology. In 2,000 years, people are going to be like, oh, these guys are idiots. Like, look how much further we've gotten. So I think you just put the kibosh on it. Like, now make this the peak of science and don't go any further.
It's like It's Always Sunny scene where he slaps the thing on like Galileo and he's like, bitch. Have you seen that?
I have. Yeah. Didn't you use that in a blog for the Buddy Book Club?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you read these? I didn't think I was reading them.
Yeah, no, I read them.
I like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes science is wrong or is a liar sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just that.
Yeah.
Your blogs are great. And we got to do something on the can. Let's get into pick your character. Who do you got?
I think you might have the same one as me here, but I went with Grover. Grover is just a good dude. You already mentioned it. He was willing to sacrifice himself. The only thing he said he would be offended by is someone calling him a goat, which the rest of the book they proceed to call him goat multiple times. Like Annabeth keeps on calling him goat boy.
Yeah.
I think he was like, don't call me a goat. I'm so offended by that. And they're like, all right, goat boy, sounds good.
No, it's like Squeak in basketball when he's like, I swear, if you guys rag on me 12 or 13 more times, I'm out of here.
Exactly like that. But the real reason is he's a satyr, which a satyr, and I think you alluded to this earlier, is a male nature spirit with ears and a tail resembling those of a horse, as well, D-Man, as a prominent exaggerated erection.
Permanent.
Oh, permanent. Fuck, I can't read. Damn it. Permanent exaggerated erection. So, yeah, that's obviously why he's my favorite. The one question I had about him, though, was why is he always eating metal cans? And is that just to distract people from this raging hard-on? It's like, hey, I'm eating cans again. But do we know why he was doing that?
Okay, so let me break this down for you. For one thing, Rick Riordan, don't really appreciate your satyr, the way you've explained a satyr. Satyrs have changed, from my understanding, from the classical Greek version, which is what you're referencing here, the ears and tails resembling a horse, to more of a fawn-like goat creature. So they used to have legs, now they more often have like goat hooves and goat legs, thinking like Mr. Tumnus from Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But Rick decided to go with this newer version as opposed to the older one, which I don't appreciate because I wanted Grover to have not only horse ears and tail, but a horse cock.
God damn.
And also, just in terms of accuracy's sake for Rick here, if you're going to go the goat thing, I know that in, like the original Disney cartoons and stuff, they showed goats eating cans. Yeah, that's a thing. But goats don't actually eat the cans. What they do is they lick the glue that's on the can. Goats like glue. So when they had Grover eating cans, I was like, come on, man, at least have him just be like, yo, let me get to that glue. Let me get that glue. That glue is the good shit, He doesn't eat the can itself. So get it together.
My theory was that it wasn't a can, it was a bottle, and it was a bottle of Viagra, and he was just continually eating them, just fucking saying rock hard the whole time. That's how he did it.
That's how he did it, yeah. It's also how he was the only one in this thing that actually had a level head. He'd be like, I don't know, I smell monster. And everyone would be like, nah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're good.
No, it's super chill. They're like, no, but monsters are chasing you guys because they smell you. It's like, no, don't worry about it. I did have Grover in my character. I was wondering, though, is Chiron our first multi-book character crossover on the Buddy Book Club?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, because when I heard that name, I was like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Song of Achilles. I always enjoy a good Chiron. I mean, a sage, a centaur that is great with the bow. Sounds amazing. Although they cast Pierce Brosnan as Chiron in the movie, and it was so bad. And I'm a big Pierce Brosnan fan, but like, yikes.
Right, who isn't?
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough look for him. Also, I'm a big fan of Hephaestus, because they describe him as not good looking but married to Aphrodite. So it's like, how did he get married to like literally the most beautiful person but he's not good looking? Well, he's clever with his hands. So Hephaestus, good for you, bro. All right, let's jump into love hate. What'd you love about this book?
I didn't have too many here. I did love the Percy Jackson I already mentioned, snatch lives, just murder people in the street for no reason. I really did like the Austin Powers callbacks. One was when he is in like the tower of the St. Louis Arch there, and the woman's like, whatever you do, don't jump into the water and save yourself. Like, that would be so dumb. Don't do that, whatever you do. And then the second one was your boy Luke leaving before he actually sees Percy get killed. He's like, all right, I'm out of here. It's like, couldn't you just wait until he died? Like, no, I'm out. I'll see you later.
No, I'll grab my gun. I'll go and grab my gun, and we can shoot them both.
Yeah, exactly.
Close the doors! There was another Austin Powers callback on that, but I forget what it was. Shoot. Oh, I get so many quotes in my head, but it was not the control the volume of my voice or something. Might be warm liquid goo face. I don't remember. But okay, you love the Austin Powers callbacks in Percy Jackson. I'm sure that's just what Rick Riordan was going for. Probably the most serious note of this podcast so far, the thing I loved about this book was that they give, like, for kids, right? So I don't know, I'm not a huge Greek mythology person. We've obviously read a couple books here. I love all those stories, but they were always kind of too complicated, too many characters. Like when you were learning them in school, kind of, it was just like too much going on. Like, wait, who does what? You know, I feel like you almost learn better playing like God of War, like the video game or something, to like actually know what these powers are. And considering this book is written for middle school kids, I like that they give all the attributes of the gods / like characters before saying who they are. So like Chiron, for example, Percy sees a big shadow and a bow and hears hooves clipping. So, you know, if you were reading this as you were learning it, you'd be like, oh my God, you know, it's Chiron. That's Chiron, right? Like from class that we learned. Or Dionysus, like they say loves wine and treats, and Grover's his slave. And Dionysus is like the king of the satyrs, or like the head of the satyrs. So if it was something that you were like learning, you know, even Medusa, like Auntie M, and she wears this headdress, you know, so you're kind of doing the work yourself and going, oh shoot, that's Medusa. Like you're going to see some crazy shit right here. Like I just really liked how he didn't say who they were at first and kind of let you figure it out. If I was a 6th grade teacher, I would probably have this book, and we were doing Greek mythology, like we would read this book after we did it, or this would be summer reading or something like that. So I think it's just a good way to learn the basics of Greek mythology, even in general, if you didn't know any of this stuff, like without playing the who is it kind of game. It's, you know, he does a fun way for kids to learn some level of Greek mythology. If I, even me as an adult who has the mind of a middle schooler, after reading this book, I definitely know more attributes of Greek gods than I did before. So for that, I think.
I don't remember ever learning Greek god stuff in any school form.
Oh, really?
So it was mostly, I don't know if, did you? I only really learned it from media sources. So like video games and movies and different things like that. And maybe because I wasn't in those advanced reading classes, but I don't remember ever learning that stuff. So I thought I was like, oh, it would have been really tough to know, like, oh, Medusa's kind of this badass, you know, turn you to stone type person. But I was like, would they know that?
You know what? I'm not sure if I did learn this in school or if I learned it all from the Hercules TV show starring Kevin Sorbo.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Kevin Sorbo taught me, and Xena Warrior Princess, of course,
yeah.
Lucy Lawless. Both of them taught me way more about Greek mythology than I had ever known before, and I fucking have great memories of that TV show. Kevin Sorbo as Hercules with his mate Aeolus. Great times, really good times. What else do you love about it?
Did you listen to the audiobook?
I did.
At the end, Jim Dale's voice coming in at the end after kind of that. Did you not hear that part?
No, I didn't hear that part.
Oh, wow. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of the audiobook narrator. He was kind of more of a kid's voice.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, it wasn't like he was bad at reading. It was just meant for kids' voice.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
But then Jim Dale comes in, like the Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock coming in at a wrestling event. I was like, holy shit! Oh my God! It's him! Thank God! Jim Dale basically is the one that narrates Harry Potter.
I know. Of course, I know Jim Dale.
He comes in, he's like, I can't even do a British accent, but he was like, your children are into reading books like this. It's great to get kids into this. I'm doing an Irish accent.
Scottish accent or something.
I don't even know where I'm at. I need to hear a British accent, then I can do one. But neither here nor there.
So he did like this is a production by Penguin, Random House, you know, that thing? Or he was in the book itself?
He was like talking up, getting your kids more into reading. He's like, audiobooks are a great way to get more kids into them. I don't know why. I can usually do an Australian accent.
It's Thomas Shelby. It's a part of the Peaky fucking Blinders.
Maybe it's the last accent I've heard. I did leave a little note there. I said I got a little satyred up hearing Jim Dale come in.
I'm a full blood. The other thing I loved about this book was the history behind how he wrote it, which I found to be endearing. So basically, Rick Riordan's kid has dyslexia and ADHD, and he wasn't interested in school, but he liked Greek mythology. Like he was in 2nd grade, liked Greek mythology. And so Rick Riordan would just pretty much like tell him bedtime stories of Greek mythology, because like he was a 6th grade teacher and knew this stuff, and so kind of taught his 2nd grade kid in a way to keep him interested in school. Suppose, like, this is his story, when he ran out of stories, like Greek mythology stories, his son was like, I want more, and he's like, well, that's what I got. And he was like, well, make one up. And he just made it up about a kid, basically made up Percy Jackson, like telling his kid bedtime stories. And then according to Rick here, his kid pushed him to write it down. It was like, you should write a book about it. And he was already an author, like 6th grade teacher, but also an author. And he said, well, maybe, and it took him a while to write it. He actually like sent it to editors or whatever, like the publication companies, under a pseudonym. He didn't want it to be associated with his other books, which to me means like his other books kind of like sucked. So, but either way, obviously this became like a huge hit. There's, however many books, there's a musical, there's movies. So him and his kid will always have that. And I found that to be quite endearing.
Wow. I really appreciate that. That makes me now feel bad that I made making any sort of jokes around that. That's heartwarming. That really is.
Yeah,
wow.
Imagine he's telling his 2nd grade kid a bedtime story, and he's like, "So here comes Grover, dick dragging on the ground." It's just not going to work, You got to do a different version.
Hey, he's fully erect the whole time, kids. I don't know how his dick's on the ground. Oh, I guess if you're 4-legged. I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, whatever. With the love, there is some hate. So let's get into the hate. What do you got for hate?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, but it's tough to compare anything to Harry Potter. It's got the place on the mantle, yeah, right? So once you compare anything to that, you're setting yourself a pretty tough bar. It is a very, very much a kid's book. Harry Potter, you reread today, the plot, the twists, you don't really see them coming. And this one, you kind of saw everything coming in terms of the storyline. Whereas Harry Potter, I think, is like, you still don't see things coming, and you still think the plot is very, very strong. Despite it being kind of meant for a young adult audience. And the big thing about Harry Potter 2, which I had a problem with this book, is that the best part about Harry Potter is the world building and like the mundane like classroom, the hallways, interactions with the students. Like that's what built the world. It wasn't him fighting Voldemort. He who must not be named.
Come on, they talk about this in the book too. It's like, don't say their names. And he's like, what do you mean, Hephaestus or Hades? Like, it's like a thing from Goodfellas or The Sopranos. It's like, no, don't say his name. Say, the little guy or something like that. It's like, don't say his name over the phone. It's the little guy. Yeah. Come on, let's not bring Voldemort into this. Excuse me, he must not be named. God, I'm not scared, Voldemort.
But yeah, that's the best part for me of Harry Potter. The world building within the classroom and like the setting. Where this is pretty much one action sequence to another action sequence to another one to another one. It just wasn't as interesting to me as one big world building story that at the end you fight like a big bad guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. And my 2 hates are in the same vein. For the first one, like there's no montage moments. Percy has these powers because they're, ordained to him from his father. Like he's born with them. But outside of like one sparring session with Luke, there's no like, how did he hone his powers? He's just going out there like fighting. And I know that's a big gripe for people with Harry Potter, is like Harry Potter just uses Expelliarmus the whole time. And I understand that, but we have thousands of pages of Harry practicing Expelliarmus and like, doing all sorts of different stuff. Like Percy just goes out there and starts like, he kills a Minotaur in the first like 50 pages. And it's like dumb luck, but then everything else is dumb luck. And it's very Harry Potter-esque in that sense, where people say, oh, Harry Potter just got lucky or whatnot. But I wish there was some way we saw Percy like grab onto his powers and learn, how to improve upon them. I'm thinking like, Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of thing, like learning how to use the water and stuff like that, as opposed to just like looking at a bubbler when he's in a museum and using that to hit some dragons. Like, wait, how did he get there? How did he understand that he could do that? And maybe even just saying like what he's doing with his mind, something along those lines. It just would have, and I know once again, it's a kid's book and like, but there's a whole middle part, like you said, where it's like them fighting one thing after another, when I feel like they could have spent more time at Camp Half-Blood and honed his powers and shown that he's like learning and improving. And just that would have been like a great montage moment. And they didn't even do that in the movie. I figured they'd do a montage moment, but nope. So yeah, I'm with you there. And then that kind of ties into my other hate, which are the kids are pretty dumb, you know? I mean, have they never heard of, like, don't talk to strangers or, like, don't take candy from strangers or something? Percy's mom was a good woman, especially because there's, like, monsters hunting him. She definitely told him, like, hey, be wary out there. Even without monsters hunting you and having learned about Medusa, how are these dumb kids still alive? Like, a creepy old lady tries to take a photo of you. What? Like, oh, come into this warehouse. I have food. No. Like, hard pass. Like, what? And then also Harry Potter thing. Auntie M didn't take off her headdress, they said. Very quirrell of her. Very quirrell. But, yeah, it was just like there's one thing after another where they just kind of went into something, like, really stupidly, and then somehow Percy, like, got them out of it, and it was like, wait, what? Like, they know monsters are hunting them. Why are they, like, just going in and taking food from some woman that you know that's bullshit?
You were never like, Harry, don't do that. What are you, an idiot? You're always kind of like, I guess it kind of makes sense what he's doing, right? Like, most of the stuff where this is like, Percy, like, figure it out, bud. Like, come on, you know? That is what it is. The other thing, too, that I just had a gripe with is, I completely agree with you. I think they should have spent way more time just at the camp establishing that.
The camp was so cool. Like, there's all sorts of fun stuff. They're like,
look at all these houses and different things. And I'm like, oh, the dynamics here are going to, like, start to play in. They're like, and we're gone.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? The thing, too, is that, so the beginning of the book, which I think they should have just got rid of, they should have just started him out on, like, the car trip to...
Oh.
Like, they should have started that
Montauk.
there. Yeah. And then he shows up at the camp, and the camp scene is much longer, is what I would have done. But... The fact that he kills his teacher early on, right? And you said it was like basically luck, but kills that teacher, and then they just put a mist over everyone, and everyone's like, nah, what are you talking about? That we didn't have this teacher. But then they crash the car, and every single media outlet's covering it and have his face on like posters and shit. I'm like, why didn't they just do the exact same thing? Like, get the Men in Black. Like,
yeah, I was
Men
just
in Black,
thinking Men in
stock
Black.
up, you know? Like, like, what are we doing here?
The only thing I was thinking Men in Black, and I was trying to think of the song, and the only song that came to me was Wiki Wiki Wow, Wiki Wow Wow. It's like, no.
Wow Wow West,
Wrong
Jim
movie.
West, Desperado.
It was a little weird. But hey, once again, it's for kids, so like I tried to suspend disbelief here. Like, oh no, this is possible, but it was a little tough. So the last thing I had was, I'm just not a huge fan of the narrating style, you know, of the way the book was written in that sense. Like, hey, I'm Percy, and this stuff happened to me. Let me tell you about it. It wasn't my preferred method, you know. I like more of a third person kind of vibe. But hey, you know, that's just me nitpicking. And I think because I listened to the audiobook, it was worse because it was like he was telling me his story as opposed to like me reading it. So yeah, that was it though. Okay, let's jump into some listener mail. I got listener mail this week. It comes from Glenn in Iowa.
You've got mail.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say Glenn like that. I apologize. Glenn, good guy, I'm sure. Thanks for writing in. Why did Percy's mom get with Gabe because of his stink? I know it was to protect Percy, but couldn't she just have rubbed shit on the walls? Wouldn't that be better than an abusive husband who also stinks? Also, how did she seek out a stinky mate? Where does one go for that? How did their courtship work? I have so many questions, but I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Asking for a friend, or
Yeah.
Great question, and one I hadn't thought about.
Yeah, it was a weird aspect of the book because it was like, okay, so she's with this horrible abusive man, and she's taking this stink tea all day because he smells, and like they can smell half-bloods in general. But then like Percy just goes on this quest with another half-blood who also would smell to the monsters, and like that's chill. But
also, he's not at home. He always gets shipped away. So what is that?
It's just like, I mean, this really seems directly stolen from Harry Potter, where it's like, oh no, like he needs to be in this house. But instead of it being like there was a protective spell because it's family and like the whole love thing, which was wonderful, this is because he smells bad, like legitimately. Like, and how bad does one have to smell, you know?
I think it's supposed to be like he's the most human person ever. He's so far away from Half-Blood or God that he smells.
No, they literally said he stank. Like, even at the beginning, Percy's like, oh my God, like Gabe pushes him against the wall. He's like, oh my God, you smell so bad. And also, like, sorry to all the halitosis people out there. Like, what is it? Is it his breath? Does he not shower? To Glenn's comment here, if I was her, I would not have been with him. I would have been like, sorry, Percy, like, we're cooking hot sardines every night for dinner. Like, that's just what we're going to do.
Also, she's a human, you know?
Yeah, why doesn't she just not bathe? Like, wouldn't that be better? Like, I'm just not, like, my mom smells horrible. Like, she loves me, but she smells horrible.
No, but she smells like a candy store. That's her problem. She smells too good.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. Just do the opposite. Like, you know,
That's a good question.
leave rotting food out. All right, let's recast the movie. This was a serious A-list cast for this movie. I don't know if you've looked into this or whatever,
No, I'll
but
have to look it up. Man.
Alexandra Daddario plays the lead, the actress, the young girl.
She's the one from the
True
one
Detective.
famous scene there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows that scene.
Jesus. Keith.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
But
Pierce Brosnan, as I previously mentioned, was Chiron. We have Rosario Dawson, Uma Thurman, Joe Pantoliano was Gabe. Sean Bean as Zeus, which I love. I mean, this movie took $225 million at the box office.
I've never even heard of his movie.
Yeah.
Jesus.
$225 million at the box office. I mean, all these guys, all these actors and actresses, they were like very small roles. Well, except for Daddario.
Yeah.
But who would you recast? I didn't have anyone for him. I just really, I saw the movie. I couldn't recast it. I didn't know. I just didn't. I didn't.
The only one I'm going to cast then is Grover. Nick Cage. Grover. Bringing Nick Cage back. That's what we needed to do.
We need to bring... Nick Cage could have been Poseidon. Let's be serious. Like, that would have been the move.
He could have been a lot of these guys. He should have been all the gods. They're like, yeah, I come in all different forms. This is what I look like.
Yeah, just like have Nick Cage be all of the gods, but just like different hairdos and whatnot. Well, let's get into our final thing here. Would you recommend this book to people that may have not listened or read?
No, I think I mentioned it early. If I had read this when I was younger, I probably would have had a much bigger appreciation for it. This just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I think the key here is that we're not like snobby towards young adult books. You know, that's our wheelhouse. That's like what we. It's like a lot of what we read. And
I loved Holes, so
yeah, Holes was this kind of same thing where the story was better and like the characters, the friendships were better in my mind. This was a little bit slapped together. I would recommend this book to, like I said, someone in 6th grade, like learning about this stuff. And I'm sure they would have a completely different take to it than I would. And I also think it was written in a way that it kept moving. So if you like get bored with books or something like that, you wouldn't be too worried about that, because instead of like going in and explaining what's happening, it just moves on to the next action scene. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think I would recommend this book to a very smart 9 to a very dumb 20-year-old. I think a young kid in middle school would enjoy it. So that's where we're at. That. And hey, that's Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief. There are many other books if you want to check those out. I don't think we will be on this podcast. But what do we have for next week?
Good Omens by...
Oh, we're going back.
Speaking of American Gods, by... Neil Gaiman, and it's by
Terry Pratchett.
Yes. So
I'm excited. But until next time,
Buddy Book Club out.
Bye now.